It is repetition which makes for perfection.
Now looking at this a week later, I think the shadows on here are fine, but I would like more contrast. And how do you create more contrast? Well, certainly when you have more white and black, smaller white and black areas, it actually flattens out. Meaning, if you like squint at this part of the image from like 10 yards, it turns gray, right? It's like a pixel pattern, black, white, black, white. So the way you create more contrast is by this: larger areas of white next to larger areas of black. So I'm going to go in and create some larger areas of white. And what that does is it makes this area darker, or I'm going to make this area darker. What I think is the most beautiful city in the world, which is Paris. Much of Europe, especially Germany, I mean, all those buildings were destroyed during the war. You know, if you look at it's completely razed to the ground for the most part, short of I think one of the churches still had bits of structure there. There are not a lot of cities in Europe that did not have their buildings destroyed. All right. This is going to be auctioned for every year I kind of donate a piece of art for a school fundraiser, a local school fundraiser. So when this is done, and they put the link live, I will share it on Instagram and Twitter, and people can bid on it. It's 11 by 17 original Batman illustration, pen and ink on board. It's mostly done. I think I probably have I was going to say 3 hours, but I think I'm overcompensating because I usually underestimate. So I'm going to say 2 hours, which I really think is an hour, but I'm saying 2 hours, but I think it's an hour. We'll see what happens. It's mostly done in that all the major shapes are done. Although in California, like any day is potentially 420. I mean, that's friggin' amazing. You know, whenever I find these like old video clips from my phone or video camera back in the day, you look at them on a modern day screen, they're like this big, gently turning it on and off, and you're like, what? I can't even tell what's going on. Some of it's just kind of fixing bad rendering. Shape and form, right? So the lines create depth, they create texture, they also create form, which is the shape of things. I ran auto configuration, so maybe it decided that it didn't really want to, that the base resolution was easier on the pipes. Okay. Darker here, create another. So if that's a 5, I'm going to create a value of 7 right here. This is also a 5 in here. Go against the grain and just make that a little bit darker. Now, if you're balancing the grays and you make that darker, all that's darker now compared to down here, and so I'm going to go in and kind of adjust that as well. Make sure I'm on the screen. Space between the space. But if you're old like me, there's 256 whippersnappers. You guys think there's millions. And in the future, I'm sure they'll have screens that display trillions. And has been here, not just like directing the URL here and just casually sit. Kirihiko, for sure. Okay, she gets the iron, or kind of binging it to catch up for so long. It was easy to literally watch one or two a night. Not many years, but early on when I first started inking, all the real inkers, they were very kind of, and I don't mean this in a negative way, they're kind of snobby about inkers. They're like, or about tools, like, no, real inkers, they don't use markers. So it was really frowned upon for many years to use markers to ink with. But they also didn't have these microns and nice markers back in the day. But even still, everything was brush. And then I think when people started using metal nibs, I'm sure all the brush people are like, oh, I can't believe this younger generation of artists. They have no skills. They're using a crocol pen. Everyone knows where the real people with skill are brush artists. And trust me, the skills that they had were amazing back then. So a lot of that knowledge and skill set has been lost over the generation. I freely admit that. But every generation finds the tools that interest them. And I think as consumer tastes shifted more towards a cleaner, hard edge line from the softer, kind of fuller line that you get from a brush. Excuse me, more and more of the younger artists, inkers, started using crocol pens, dip pens. Specifically, the Hunt 102 was really popular, and that was used. Sometimes they use marker for using templates to do like circles and things like that. But that's all that people would deign sort of like lower themselves to. And even I draw the line at Sharpies because they're horrible. They bleed and they stink and they're probably not good for you health wise. And the line quality can't be really controlled very well. And on top of it, they will yellow over time given exposure to the elements, UV light. And even though sometimes it takes you 3 or 4 movements, strokes to kind of get the same line you can get from like one ink, like what I did just there. Off of one stroke of a crocol pen, most people I know that ink uses these nowadays, including Scott Williams. I think he uses a brush and a marker. But that guy, he can ink with a toothbrush. I mean, he can ink with his fingernails. And then obviously the next generation of people like Clayton, superhero swimmer arts, Asia, they're all about, not saying he is, but of that ilk, of that generation. They're all about digital. And they swear by it, and I'm like, why? But I get it. 5 more years, there'll be a new the next the post millennials. They'll be like, no, man. Markers or actually brushes. This is where it's at. It's going to go full circle. The revival of turntables and LP records. Some of my kids actually. I'm like, dude, I got rid of those years ago because they warp and they scratch and they're inconvenient to carry around and store. What's wrong with you? Like, no, the sound is so much better. The fidelity. Okay, whatever. All right. I had yesterday off from work, which was great. I have an extra day just to kind of get errands done. Be responsible. So I'm going to go to a 9 in terms of value right here. All right. And there's an amazing show that's on there now, which is Doom Patrol. You should check that one out as well. It's very, I think, one of the most offbeat, clever, and creative superhero uh, adaptations media right now. This is how it's done. iOS device. I think there's a free trial period. Potentially a lot of new fans and actual existing fans to a lot of content that they might not necessarily have read before because they couldn't afford it. And I'm a strong believer in that the more you read and find stuff that you love, the bigger the fan you will become, and the stronger our business and art form will be with more people that read more comics in general. And I understand if you're a physical retailer, okay, that well, some people get concerned about that, but I just know anecdotally. Oh, actually, no, we have some research, right? So that was done some years back, but most people they buy digitally and in print. The bigger the fan you are, the more likely you are going to be to buy and consume anything superhero related, which I think is good, including physical books and comics. And our periodical sales have been great this year. So it's exciting to see because that means more people are going into comic book shops on a weekly basis. Yeah, so I'm there Saturday and Sunday. I think the afternoon of Saturday and the morning afternoon slash of Sunday. Right, and it takes months. Uh, I was at the Magic Castle last night. Hard tricks like 3 feet, right in front of your face. They're so good at what they do. Um, and it's astounding. The tricks are cool. That comes about from manipulating cards in your hand for like 10 years, 20 years sometimes. So I've been drawing professionally since 1987. I think that's considered a crapload of years. Wait. All right. That's so I would think that if you spend 30 years using this tool, pencil, marker, at some point, you're able to do things that other people can't. And then think about like how long it would take for you to be so good at that, right? Same thing with art. There's the physical manual dexterity that is learned through repetition and practice. And then there's the know how that is developed at a different pace through reading, doing, interacting with other professionals. Your hands will be shaky. You will not get the line that you want. In fact, I remember the first time I tried to ink, not even over my own pencils, but over another image. I thought, like, I'll just start with inking. It's a lot easier than drawing. I'm just tracing over someone's line. And you'll find that it is really difficult because A, just having the mental tenacity or discipline to sit down and actually trace another person's entire work is grueling. But all the decisions you have to make in terms of line weight, textures, how to interpret little lines, it's a fascinating exercise, and you will gain great admiration and respect for people that ink professionally. If I have some free time, try to do some of that. Someone asked if I normally just stream on Sundays. Yes, that is the answer. But tomorrow is Easter, so we're doing some family stuff. So I thought I would stream today and get this finished. As you can see, I'm taking my sweet time with this. I could be moving at a pace like this. Right, it's just more immediate, and when I'm working, that's kind of the speed. But I'm just taking it easy today, chatting with you fine folk, so I can kind of just move at a more leisurely pace. And there's a cost to that, meaning speed at which you work does affect your very subtly your line quality. So you don't want to go too slowly because then your lines will kind of have this dead weight to them. But you don't want to go too fast because then while you might have energy, it might get a little sloppy. So you just got to find where your style is in that spectrum, whether you like that really controlled flatter line or whether you want something that is more spontaneous but can sometimes be reckless and kind of break the structure. Assign people's body, limbs, things, so they people have tattooed my name on their bodies. You know, I think there was a day when this is all kind of starting out where I was like, oh, I don't feel comfortable with this. Uh, but it's so commonplace, just tattooing in general. Like, I don't worry about it. Don't worry about it anymore. It's like, you guys know what you're doing. Hmm. I'm taking this all darker here. So I want that form, the light to be on this side and then get darker as it comes down this way. Thing with this whiteout pen is it's really nice because it gives you the ability to make corrections. Um, in a way, you're sort of kind of painting with the ink and then the whiteout, as opposed to drawing and then just inking. And then I just have to figure out what's going on right down here. But I think I'm gonna go this, go and get a different direction to create that plane, and then go across. Now that's all turning out here. Sometimes I make these strange sounds because I find myself inadvertently holding my breath while I'm drawing. Probably not a great habit. But I think it kind of speaks to the fact that I'm kind of like, don't know how this is going to turn out, or I want, like, I'm in suspense, and it's, or maybe it's a subconscious way for me to kind of still my arm. I don't know. Drinks, although it's been a more like a slushy fan, though, I think at this point. I keep all my liquids over here. I don't think I've ever spilled any, like a drink on a drawing. Maybe coffee, because technically coffee is a drink. But usually it's ink on that you spill, right? So, hmm. So there's the shadow on the object, or the lighting. So if there's a round object, it's shadowed over here, light here, shadow here. But then this object then casts a shadow here, which you can see right here. All right, so you want to capture that shadow and the cast shadow. Same thing, right? Shadow on this ridge and the cast shadow that goes across the face. Thanks for the sub, SM Carti. I spent a lot of my day during the week driving from the DC offices over to the consumer products building, to the lot, which is where film and TV are, to the ranch, which is where animation is. I mean, it's, I'd say 1/3 of my time is spent in different buildings within the Warner Brothers family. I'm just having fun with this gargoyle. I could do this for hours, or I could just say I'm done and just stop. There's a cast shadow right there, just kind of deepening this thing, casting its shadow on whatever this is down here. And then relegating, sorry, these other accents, reflections to a sub 3 value gradient, just pushing them back a little bit so that all the bright highlights are up here. So next Sunday I will not be streaming, for example. Um, but the best place to find out about the streaming schedule, you obviously can wait for the alerts, the notices, but there's a Discord channel. It's a communications platform primarily used by gamers to talk to one another while they game, but it's a fairly robust messaging and post kind of message board type. platform. Art, share their love of art, things that they bought, etc., etc., etc. If you want to figure out what to do in life, find something you hate and tackle it and make it better. You should organize a show, Steak and Cheese. If you know that all the cons are crap, you got to figure you're not the only person to feel that way. Yeah. You know, you have the passion for it, make it a reality. And KB Bradshaw, they're online at different parts of the house. Like, I miss White Castles. Probably the worst, best, or the best, worst fast food. Oh my god, I gotta stop. Oh, the meds are kicking in hard right now. Sorry guys. The game because it's so popular and really all the pro dudes are in there just um you know. And but I play like time I just don't have a lot of time, free time lately. Hence no streams. But I'm kind of waiting for like maybe like a good MMO, a new MMO to kind of come out. That'd be kind of fun to get back into something like that. Excuse me. If you're into movie, TV stuff, they have a lot of interesting stuff for you to see. And they're building a new building. It's pretty cool. Soinlet 562. Hello. Thank you very much, Pickle Weasel and Janella. I appreciate it, guys. All right. KB Bradshaw. So wait, where else am I going this summer? So after Seattle, which is Polyup. I'm glad someone is, Karen. This is just finding the time. A lot of fun memories growing up in St. Louis. KB Bradshaw. Thank you for the bits. I will consider that to be my therapy for the week. You know, Bo, sometimes women they don't want the solution, they just want to be heard. Hi, Karen Night Eyes. All right. Cast Shadow. Cast Shadow. Darkened here. Before when I stream on Sunday, after I streamed, I wouldn't want to sit down and draw again until later that night. And, then I'd be up super late trying to get, my deadline work done. when I could have been doing it in the morning, right? Sunday morning. Actually, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just not drawn Sunday morning. I would have still drawn Sunday night, but I would probably feel more rested because I had time off during the day. Hear what I'm saying? I think EverQuest is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. Right? Is that possible? Jesus. Jeez Louise. Pretty waste of time, but man, is it fun. Right? That's the way you gotta approach it. Unless you're so good like Shroud or some of these other gamers, I mean, they can obviously do very, very well with their skills, and it's super impressive watching them just kind of do it, have that gift, and to be born at a time where they can actually monetize it. What if I were as good as these guys back in the day? Definitely lost the steps since then, but there was really no way to make a living being the best Pong player, right? Because sterben means to die in German, and XXL is obviously biggest size, big death. Or the phrase live large, die large. Sterben XXL. EJ Morgus, what's up? I don't know, man. I'm just here chilling and drawing on my Twitch stream. Drawing the human form is more about knowing that this part of the body has this kind of shape when it's presented at this kind of angle with this amount of tension on it, etc., etc. I don't. I, early on, I thought, well, if I memorize all the names or the muscles, I would be able to improve my drawing. Then I started doing it. And I realized this has nothing to do with drawing. For me, at least, everyone's mileage may differ. I'm sure there's someone going like, I learned it this way, and I memorized everything. All right. Wax City, yeah, doesn't it though? The Joker, Joaquin Phoenix looks amazing in it. Cannot wait. All right. And then if you just move it quick enough, you can draw with it. Off the gargoyle. See that? Look how the human brain creates a pattern, right? That's why I like the splatter, but we do this for the purpose of creating the larger ones that are low. And we're going to supplement this with all It's like the human brain can't but think in patterns, right? Splatter. It would be, you never know, but right now, given my responsibilities, so stuff with the family, I've got stuff with the family, writer soonish, couple. All right. It's not like it's the golden lasso. Yeah, I should probably not do rain. It would look cool, but I don't think it makes sense, which doesn't always stop me. Sometimes I'll just draw something because I think it looks cool, but in this instance, once I do it, and if I don't like it, it will be tough for me to. I could. Oh, the knee is gonna catch some rain too. I guess I could figure it out, but or black it back out, but it might look odd because everything you ink over whiteout gets shiny. How do I know how much rain to throw down? I don't know. Salt to taste, right? Put salt in your food. At some point, you stop because it's the right amount of salt for you. Maybe I am. I don't know. The fact that we don't prepare for it or think about it till we get old, it just shows you. Putting some ink here, catching it with the toothbrush, going over here, and then gonna splatter it. But in this direction, this gives you a finer mist than using like a credit card or a hotel key for the first couple of spritzes, and then after that it gets kind of coagulated. So the fine mist of it kind of disappears. As the whiteout clumps onto the individual teeth of the toothbrush. Sorry if this is not on camera, but it requires two hands to do what I'm doing, so it's just a business card. This will give us bigger splatter, and we can use this for stars and rain. And get some down here. Manually add a couple bigger clumps because I can kind of control the location of the spray. Sometimes you can't control exactly the larger ones because to get the really larger ones, you need to put more white out there, which can turn into huge blobs. So let's just mix in a couple bigger ones there, and then some on the. Okay, debating whether I'm going to go to that one. And then an overseas show in May as well. So May's. And there we go. Yeah, me put it over here for VZA so he doesn't have to have all that text covering it. There you go.